I'm going to let you in on a little secret. For most of my childhood, I suffered from abuse. Although it was a traumatizing experience, the maltreatment I endured probably isn't something you're familiar with. I wasn't beaten or starved or even neglected. Instead, I was denied something that no child in this country should ever have to live without. Television. It's true. I see a few shocked faces, some sympathetic nods, and I appreciate it. The injustice of growing up without TV made me a social pariah, unable to connect with my friends over the latest TV shows and most popular celebrities. An integral aspect of American culture was foreign to me, especially as this prohibition expanded to social media as I grew older. The humiliation of having to ask your friends about their weekend instead of just seeing the Instagram pictures is something I hope none of you will ever experience. However, there is one positive result of this abusive upbringing that I must acknowledge. Deprived of technology to fill my waking hours, I turned to an ancient form of entertainment: books. Consequently, I grew up with a vivid imagination and impressive vocabulary. My sister and I had to read the book before we could watch its movie adaptation, and we wrote persuasive essays to convince our parents to buy us a dog. My idea of a workout is reading in bed until my arms get tired. As a result, I have developed a deep love and appreciation for the written and spoken word. You can imagine my shock when I entered public school, discovering that most students my age found reading and studying English to be tedious and a waste of time. My peers' disinterest in our language quickly grew to contempt as we overanalyzed literature in English class and took weekly grammar tests. And contempt gave way to indifference upon entering high school, where our hectic schedules allow little time for recreational reading, and books become a thing of the past, an ancient method of torture not even worth contemplating. This trend is probably familiar to any parent or teacher who's ever tried to sell their kid on a literary adventure, rather than killing aliens on a computer screen. But while it's generally acknowledged as alarming, very few people are talking about the long-term effects on our language, the consequences of raising a generation with no inclination to cherish and protect our books and our words. As a result, English and other languages are slowly deteriorating. But the simple fact that you are here today indicates to me that you care about language, and that I have allies against the three most powerful enemies of language: resistance, reduction, and restriction. Resistance to the celebration of language is something anyone who's ever been to school has probably witnessed firsthand. The average student will avoid reading and writing altogether if it isn't required of them, and literacy rates across the country testify to the steady resistance to English in the classroom. According to an LA Times article in April 2016, of the nearly 19,000 high school seniors tested in English, only 37% were deemed ready for college levels. The article also found that over the last decade, despite dramatic advances in technology to help kids learn, literacy rates have not improved. The majority of the country is sending kids into college reading at a barely proficient rate. Nothing has been done to remind these students that we, are the ones tasked with preserving language. And how are we to accomplish that if we do not work to improve these statistics? This is the danger of the resistance factor. Many languages are also at risk of being reduced far more rapidly than they're being expanded. The most recent publication of the Oxford Dictionary contained about 175,000 words in current use, compared with 50,000 outdated words. On the surface, this seems like a manageable compromise. Nearly 3 times more modern words than obsolete ones. But these statistics are far less comforting when faced with the reality that the average English speaker only knows about 20 to 30,000 words, and will use about half of that in daily conversation. 175,000 words. And yet, we still can't properly express certain concepts. For example, there is no English word for the day before yesterday or the day after tomorrow. There was, however, a word from the 1800s for putting something off until the day after tomorrow, to perendinate. Why we no longer use this word is a mystery to me, since putting things off is still very popular. Just ask any student. There are hundreds of words we no longer use. They're called archaic words by the Oxford Dictionary, and many of them are still completely relevant. Like ultra-crepidarian, someone who expresses opinions beyond their level of expertise. Although I guess today we just call that a politician. Words are incredible. And for every new one we learn, there are dozens more waiting to be discovered. But as generations become progressively less interested, languages begin to lose valuable concepts and means of expression. In speech and debate, we take it for granted that people know how to communicate. But articulating one's thoughts and opinions is an art that fewer and fewer people are pursuing. Limited character counts and even more limited attention spans contribute directly to the reduction of our vocabularies. With the growing prevalence of technology and the internet, information is much more condensed, which is both a blessing and a curse. Spellcheck and thesaurus.com are fabulous resources that I've turned to on countless occasions. But they are beginning to replace the need for a basic vocabulary and general understanding of the rules of English. On the other hand, the tools to learn and utilize new words are more accessible than ever. But despite this new technology, English and other languages are still losing words far faster than they're creating them. This leads us to our third and final threat to preserving our appreciation of language: restriction. Although the Oxford Dictionary actually adds an average of 1,000 words to its archives every year, many of these words struggle to earn their places in the hearts and vocabularies of English speakers. This is primarily because many of the candidates to become real words come from the diverse and far-flung realm of cyberspace, where their use is often fragmented and just a fad. Very few of these words are universal, but occasionally a word like selfie or emoji will become so popular that it is automatically added to the dictionary. This brings us back to books and words. Traditionally, a society's books have been the focal point of its language, and more specifically, the introduction of new words. Millions of readers have simultaneously discovered new words through books, and many of these words stuck around simply because of how universal the books were. Just as books are pages held together by glue, books are the glue that bind all of us together and usher new words into our respective vocabularies. Cyber words just don't have that same stickiness and are restricting the growth of our language that is our legacy. That legacy was, and still is, influenced by writers. Writers like Dr. Seuss, Lewis Carroll, William Shakespeare, all of whom are renowned for their creation and appreciation of words. I'm hoping all of you have read at least one of those 3 authors, and if you have, you can probably guess which one once wrote. Fill your house with stacks of books, in all the crannies and all the nooks. Today, I implore you to willingly, dare I say enthusiastically, pick up a book and read without being forced to do so. It doesn't have to be Hamlet. The Hunger Games will do just fine. help me preserve the legacy of our language. Let's allow future generations to escape to the written word, to marvel at the way words transport us to worlds that defy our imagination and leave us with an unparalleled sense of wonder. Thank you.